Okay, cool. So Hayley, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Such a pleasure to have you. And watching your journey has been inspiring. Although I've only seen I think the second half of it. I didn't know you when you started your journey,
Hmm.
but your posts and your pictures give a lot away, and certainly the conversations that we have really shine about who you are as a person. So I feel really grateful. To be able to have the opportunity to interview you because you could have said no.
Oh, thanks. I've never been asked to have an interview before, so I'm feeling very honoured.
Awesome, that's cool. So the what I really wanted to share with people who watch this is a little bit about your story, a little bit about your journey. For those people that are watching you right now, they're not going to have any idea about where you've come from. Although we're gonna pull a few things up and I guess show a bit of your past. So I'd really like to kind of start off with with where you were, say 20 months ago, 24 months ago, because I know a lot of people are going to be really keen to hear how you went from where you were to where you are today. So would you mind sharing a bit about where you were 20 months ago? And I might just put up that picture that we've got that you sent through, and that'll give people a good
Sure.
idea of what you're talking about.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, go.
There I am. This picture was of me in Thailand in December 2013, which was probably, I think that might have been, it must have been about 8 months after I actually got married to my husband. We've been together for almost 10 years. We did everything a little bit backwards. We had children, we bought a house, and then we decided to get married. So yeah, I was saying the other day that I have always fluctuated throughout my life as a teenager, and terribly enough, I was always a person for comparing and not feeling good enough and wanting to look better than the person next door. And it's a horrible mindset to have, but you know, I as you do as a mum, you put weight on through pregnancy. You let yourself go a little bit because sometimes you do find it very easily to forget about yourself and care about everyone else in your family, being that core, off the apple. It's you that holds everything together, so you often put yourself last, and that's what I did, and I used it as an excuse too. And after I got married, just before my wedding day, I was 80 kilos on my wedding day, and I had actually been trying to lose weight in my own way. I was sitting on a bin one day, and my husband said to me, "You know what? If you stay this way forever, I'll be happy." And it was really funny hearing him say those words because he's never been a big one for compliments. So for me, I saw that as just like the hugest compliment. But it was also this switch in my head that stopped me from wanting to try any harder because he gave me that approval to be who I was, which is an awful mindset to have also. So after my wedding day, it was just such a huge build up to this wedding, and then after the wedding I kind of just let myself go basically, and between maybe July and December I put on 17 kilos, and there's lots of reasons why I feel like I put that weight on. My daughter had sleep apnea. She was young. She was waking up 4 times an hour on average, and I was getting maybe 5 minutes of sleep an hour. So I was really just getting no sleep. And with that, my relationship started crumbling with my husband. I was becoming really overtired and cranky and angry. And I was resenting my children because I just didn't have that mental focus to concentrate or have the patience with them. And I felt like I started on the top of a hole, and then I just slid further and further and further and further down into this dark hole. And I really didn't see that I could get myself out of it. And the only thing that gave me any kind of happiness at all was food. And I literally would sit down. It was, I'd be in my PJs all day because I was just too lazy and unmotivated to get up and to make an effort. And I would just I would just demolish food, and I'm talking blocks of chocolates, bottles of Coke, 5 to 6 cups of coffee a day, a packet of Tim Tams. I was just eating, and it was sad because, you have this beautiful life, you have this beautiful family around you, yet the only thing that made me feel any good was eating bad food. And I was just in such a bad negative mindset. I was such a negative person. I had no motivation. I was losing every friend around me because I honestly wouldn't leave the house. I was pushing my family away, and I was just the worst possible person at that time.
And so, when you say the worst possible person, how do you label yourself the worst possible person? That's a pretty big label. So you're obviously very hard on yourself, and it sounds like you still possibly are to some degree. How do you give yourself that label?
Well, yeah, maybe it's a bit of a harsh label to give me. I'm sure there's a lot worse out there than what I was. But I think when you're, maybe it's the chemicals that work in your body. But when you're feeling that low about yourself, it's it's such a hard thing to explain. But when you're that low about yourself, you just give up. You give up. I didn't care. I didn't care that the house was a mess. My children were suffering because I couldn't be bothered to make them healthy dinners. I was giving them, we were having takeaway 3 nights a week. I couldn't even be bothered to clean up the mess of the paper bags of the takeaway food that was on my kitchen table. I was just so unmotivated. Nothing was getting done around the house. My husband and I were not having any kind of relationship whatsoever that was healthy. And I was just on the computer all the time. And I really wasn't being that person that I needed to be for my family.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and when I say the worst possible person, I didn't care.
Okay.
I really just, I didn't care that my kids were suffering. I didn't care that my husband was suffering. All I could care about was the fact that, poor me, I was feeling so bad, and I felt like, it was just a pity thing, really.
A piggy thing.
A pity, feeling pity. Yeah.
Pity party.
Yeah, pity party.
Pity party, cool. And you mentioned that you pushed your friends and family away, and I know that's really, really common. It's something that I certainly did when I was in my rock bottom state. How did you? What were some of the things that you found your friends and family were saying to you? Were they trying to get through? Were they trying to be of support? What did you find they were trying to say to you?
No one ever really touched base on the weight thing. It was more the fact that I didn't have time for people. I had all the time in the world. I've been a stay-at-home mum. I had 7 days a week where I had time to catch up with people. But it was just constant excuses, and my closest girlfriends would obviously want to catch up, and I would say, yeah, for sure, we'll catch up, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10, and at 9 o'clock, I was just feeling so crappy and unmotivated that I would message them and say, what, sorry, I can't make it today, and I would use excuses. I didn't reach out to them. I didn't tell them, hey, you know what, I'm really down. I cannot leave this house. It was, oh, my son has a doctor's appointment, or, oh, sorry, I forgot that this came up. So, looking at their perspective, they just saw me making all these excuses, and not just that too. One massive wake up call was a really close girlfriend of mine, and I get emotional because I did actually lose her as a friend, and she was someone that was really, really close to me. And she was always a really beautifully positive person. And one day she stopped me and she said, I can't do this anymore. She goes, why is it that you have to find a negative in absolutely everything? She goes, you need to change. And I thought that she was the one with the problem. And we pushed away from each other. It got further and further, and our relationship just really crumbled. And it wasn't until later on that I understood what she was saying to me.
Wow, that's really powerful.
Really yeah. It was a wake up call a lot later on. I wish that I understood what she was saying to me at the time. But yeah, and it was just, I guess I just, people gave up on me. That's what it was. People gave up.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like, what are people going to do if you've already given up?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, it's like you can't drag a horse to water and make him drink it. You know, it's they tried everything that they could, and yeah, there was nothing that they could do, and you know, there was that slight bit of guilt in me. You know, I felt bad. I was upset, and I would get emotional that I was losing the friends. But there was just this big part of me. You know, for people to look at me walking in the street, they would have thought I was the happiest, most positive person, because that's who I pretended to be. But um, I was far from that, and I think because I hid that from people as well, it was very hard for anyone to try and help me or support me when I wasn't being truthful.
Yeah, and you said an amazing point, Hayley. You know that the friend that you lost, you thought she was the one with the problem,
Mm.
and it's interesting, isn't it, how we project our unconscious thinking onto other people. So we think it's all them, but really it's all us.
Mm. That's true. But to a little bit later with that relationship, I noticed that I started picking up on a few cues. So I would say something, she would say something, or I would complain, or, you know, I was one of these people where everything was terrible. I hated this. My husband did that. It was just, everything was so negative. And I would see her rolling her eyes, and she would then change the subject, just completely cut me off and change the subject. And I would pick up on those cues, and I would understand, and I'd think, oh my gosh, she's diverting this conversation again. I need to be quiet. But it was such a hard thing to change that mindset. I couldn't. I would pick myself up on it, but it was just so hard to change. It was especially when like I said, you get yourself into that really big dark hole, and you don't have that support around you because you're not admitting to how you actually are or what the
That's
truth
right.
is.
Yeah.
So
And the hard part to change at that level is when, if you use the term negative and you are seeing the worst in things, which naturally you're going to do when you don't like yourself, you'll see the worst in everything. But as human beings, we've got an innate need for love and connection. So if that's all we're seeing and all of our passions behind it, we want to share what we see and connect with people.
yeah, exactly.
It's so unconscious, we're connecting at such a harmful level to ourselves and other people that eventually they kind of cut the cord. And I think it's a real strong point. I'm really glad that you brought it up, Hayley, because for me as a coach, it's one of the biggest challenges that I see for people that are in that dark hole, or they're stuck in anywhere, is that they kind of get held there by the need to be connecting with other people.
Mm.
That they only think that that's the only way that they connect. If I can just talk to somebody, then they'll get my point of view. And unfortunately, no one really wants to hear it more than once. So
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny too that you say that, because I've had a funny relationship with my father, if I can be truthful there, um, and it was only until I kind of become a mother and learnt morals and learnt values, that I really found it hard to connect with him because of his negativity.
yeah,
And to the fact that when he used to come to visit me, I used to say to him, listen, you can't stay here anymore. You're going to have to stay somewhere else because I can't deal with you being so negative. Yet I was also being that person, but I wasn't recognizing it myself.
absolutely.
So it's fun. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, and so another great point too, Hayley. Like, apple never falls far from the tree, and our parents are usually our greatest teachers, but sometimes our greatest warnings.
Greatest warnings, definitely.
uh, so that's cool. So if you think about that, you've lost your closest friend, and other friends are kind of jumping the ship.
Mm-hmm.
What was the point for you where you really sort of hit that rock bottom point where you went, oh, enough?
So there was a few things that kind of brought me to that moment. I guess you sweep things underneath the rug for so long that it becomes so full that it'll end up exploding. You can't hide the dirt anymore. And so there was a lot of things, but I talk, we talk here about it. It was about my weight loss, not my weight loss, sorry, my weight, the weight that I gained, and being unhappy because I was fat basically, or feeling fat. But it was so much more than that. It was actually just me not having control at all, me not having any control over anything. And the day that that broke me was a moment when I was sitting on my computer in our family lounge room, and actually there was two pastries with the custard inside, and I had a coffee and I had Tim Tams, and I used to do this Tim Tam slam, and I used to cut the it is delicious. You and you suck the coffee through, and then I started on these pastries, and my husband stood up and he turned around and he looked at me, and it's an awful thing to say, but I kind of understand, and he shook his head and he said, "You've got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me." And I looked at him, and I remember my hands just fell into my head just fell into my hands, and I started crying, and I said, "But the only thing that makes me happy is food. If I give up food, what have I got? I cannot live without this food that makes me feel good." And I stopped for a moment and I thought, I have two beautiful children. We own a house. We live in a beautiful suburb. I have a husband who goes to work, who supports us. I have a caravan. I got everything that I want. Yet I'm telling myself that food is the only thing that makes me feel good. And that was my point for me, where I went, oh my gosh, I really need to change.
Yeah.
And it really was. But I remember really feeling like I can't live without eating food. I mean, of course we've got to eat food, but it was the kind of food that I was eating. So It was just, unhealthy, very unhealthy.
Yeah. Wow. And so when you get to that point and you kind of go, oh, okay, I'm this unhappy. I've got all these people in my life. I've got all these things in my life, and here I am. All I'm focusing on is how crap my life is and how good this rubbish food is.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, okay, enough. What was the steps or the decisions that you began to make? Because obviously you've got to change your focus, right? If you keep focusing on the same stuff, you do the same thing. So you would have had to consciously begin to change what you were focusing on. What were some of the things that you chose to focus on from there?
There's so many things. A friend of mine wanted to help me onto this system that could help me lose weight. And it's a hard thing, because as a mother, and a lot of mums will understand, when they lose control of their weight, we try a lot of things. I've tried everything out there, and I never last much longer than a couple of weeks. So when you realize that, for the 50th millionth time, that you need to change something about your health in order to start losing weight, and then, start feeling more healthier, it's a difficult decision, because you have failed so many times that you lose complete belief in yourself. So I guess the biggest thing that my friend kind of helped me with was to believe, to change your mindset. I mean, people talk about the power of positive thinking, curing cancer, or curing, whatever it might be. A lot of people believe in that. And it was something that I had lacked in for so many years, was belief. To be honest with you, I never believed in myself. If I can touch base, but as a child, I never believed in myself. I didn't even make it through year 9 in school, because I actually had no belief in myself. I would walk into exams and I would put a big red cross on the exam paper and walk out, and I wouldn't even try. And I didn't keep a job. I moved out of home when I was basically 16, and I failed everything. So I guess when it comes to, trying to change your health, you're always scared that you're going to fail, so you lack belief in yourself. So that was the biggest thing that I had to change, was actually believing that I could do this, because I knew that I had to.
And how did you do that?
Well, with what I'm involved, what I started this system, you have this massive support network. You have people who are there, community of people who are supporting you all the time. And that was the major key for me, because everything I had done before to try and change my health, there was no support there. Like I was buying these things, there was no support. There was no support from my husband, because he was healthy. He didn't need to change his health. So he would not really understand or be able to support me either. So it was surrounding myself with people who were, I guess, surrounding myself with the people that I wanted to be.
Mm. Oh, wow.
It was, and it was, and it was a strange thing because, like I said, I pushed away so many people, yet I started searching for people, and who who had, I don't know, who were the same, who, if their core inside, who I wanted to be was them. So that's what it was. It was surrounding myself with positive people that helped me to change my mindset.
Oh, that is gold. That is so, so crucial, and such a huge step, such a massive step.
It was a huge step. I think, I guess, the damage that I created in my existing relationships with people made it very difficult for anyone to believe in me. So in terms of leaning to those people for support or admitting what I needed to do, and I didn't have the faith of those people. So that wasn't going to work. I guess surrounding myself with people who were positive and who had this amazing mindset was what actually really transformed me.
Yeah. And what was the, I mean, it's just tell us a little bit about that journey, because it's a very brave step to take. And it's a step I've seen a lot of people do. So I'm glad that it's becoming more and more popular. And I think a great distinction that I've picked up about you, Hayley, and your journey is that a lot of people will reach out for support, which I think is fantastic. But there's different types of support that I've noticed. There's the support which is the cuddle and it's okay, and there's the support where there's no, you don't need a cuddle right now. You're not in the right space for a cuddle. We need to pull our pants up and we need to be a big girl, and we need to kind of focus and rebuild our life, which is a very different support network. What was that like for you getting started? Because I imagine that you've already burned, figuratively speaking, the trust of those that are around you. They don't want to hear it anymore. You've got to go and make new friends. Was that frightening? Was it scary? What was that like for you?
It was awesome, actually. Scary in the beginning, but awesome. But something that I didn't really say, it was funny. The first time I actually realized this and remembered this, I was actually standing near you up in Brisbane in March. Yeah, you're actually standing behind me. I didn't realize that, but it was the first moment I realized that before I fell into this support network, I was, obviously I said that I was feeling really low and I wasn't getting what I needed from the people around me to lift me back up, and I needed something to change. I actually started stalking churches. Okay. Because I remember this day many years ago. I went to a friend. I supported a friend. He was at a church. He was having a concert, and I remember looking around at all these people that were really happy and really positive. And I thought, well, this is what I need. I need to find people who are going to make me feel good. Yet I wasn't quite sure. It kind of didn't make sense for me to go and join a church at this stage because I was quite unsure about my belief. So why would I shouldn't go to something just because I won't want to hang around positive people if I didn't actually believe in what, or have that 100% belief, so to speak. So when I found these group of people, and people who are all doing the same program as me, and people who are happy to support, I actually was quite welcomed to it because I was actually searching for that before. And these amazing group of people that help support one another in whatever their journey needs to be. I'd say that it actually was what helped me break through those barriers that I was having. It took a little while to trust, to be honest. It took a little while, probably not too long, but it took a few weeks or a month to realize that these people are actually really genuine people and actually really care about you and actually want the best because they've been through it too, most likely. And I think you end up being drawn. My friend Vanessa, who introduced me and I find this now in doing what I do, is that people are drawn to you who have had similar experiences or are similar people, have similar values. So when I found Vanessa, we were very, 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 very similar people. And it took me a little while to trust and to see that she was a genuine friend, but it took a few weeks, and we've become best of friends from there, and I've met a million of them since.
Oh, that's amazing. So you discovered network marketing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And how?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's really a platform for personal development, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And personal development was nothing that interested me before. I had heard of it, and I had heard of like Anthony Robbins and all these massive motivational speakers, and I'd hear things that they would say, and I go, oh, that sounds great, but I never got into it. Then all of a sudden, I fell into network marketing, and I didn't even know what network marketing was. I really didn't. And I started going to these events, and these people would get up, and they weren't really even talking about the products that you were using. They were talking about life, and anybody who would walk into that room, whatever business they were in, whatever job they were in, whatever part of their life they were in, would somehow respond really well with these speakers. And it all just made sense. Personal development, it just makes sense, and it's been everything to me. It's been everything to me.
So you talked about you pushed relationships away, and one of the things that a lot of people that have walked your path, Hayley, although relationships ended and new communities are built, did you find that any of your old friends, they came with you? Did you find that you lost a lot of friends?
I lost two along the way. Both were my closest friends. I spent a long time blaming them. I really do. I did. I spent a long time blaming them. Now I can kind of admit that, maybe, like people reflect off each other. So my negativity reflected back onto them. So what I was seeing from them was actually what I was allowing them to be, so to speak. So yeah, I did lose those two friends. The other ones slowly crept back into my life again. They saw that this girl that used to be on Facebook complaining about everything in every status 5 times a day in these statuses changed, and things became extremely positive. And I guess that drew them back to me again. And they're really proud of who I am now.
That's amazing. It's really, really cool. So there's a big tenet there that I'm picking up of responsibility, of personal responsibility. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's the biggest thing. No one can change themselves. No one can do anything in life unless you take responsibility for yourself. And really, at the end of the day, I was raised lovely. I had a family that gave me lots of love, and I'm a very loving person too. But there was a lot of things in life, instability. Lived in 32 homes by the time I was 21. Moved from school to school. Moved around the world. And I blamed my parents forever. Not forever, but for up until that point, I blamed my parents for who I had become. And it was only till now that I've gone through all this personal development that I realized that every single person has to take responsibility for their own life, and with positive thinking, and with being more in tune with who you want to be. You can be anything you want to be. You can absolutely be, but it's just your mind that needs to change. It's that mindset. And if you really want something, if you really, really want something, and you really start believing that you can do it, then you will.
So we've kind of watched the journey that you've gone through, and we've seen the photo. We can see you now, so we can see there's a great weight loss story there.
Yeah.
What else has taken off? What else is happening for you in your life? What else is going on?
Well, in terms of in terms of business, the business side now, I don't even know if that's the right word to use. Obviously, I'm in network marketing now, and I'm with this amazing a wellness company, and I was just a mum. That's how I labelled myself. I was just a mum, and I was on this mouse wheel, and I felt so unvalued. And you do fall into a bit of a rut, and I felt like no one appreciated me. I felt like I was unable to achieve anything. I just felt like I was this mum who, and this was it. I was just going to be a mum for life, and the thought of even having to go out there and eventually get a job where I had to work 9 to 5 for a boss that treated me terribly, or I hated the co-workers around me, or I hated sitting in traffic 2 to 3 hours a day. That I didn't even feel like I wanted to live for that, and I fell into this business. I lost 33 kilos doing it, and I work for myself. And what I do in terms of work is helping people who are just like me achieve the goals that I have. But what is so beautiful about that for me is that from someone who felt like she had no control of anything in her life, I feel like I have just gained control of everything. And that is the most powerful feeling to have. And with that, like I said to you, I felt like as a child, as a teenager, as an early adult, that I failed everything that I had ever done in my life. And now I just feel so accomplished because I'm reaching all these milestones and I'm being recognized, and it's just the most beautiful feeling. And I just feel so confident with who I am. There's still parts of me that maybe needs to learn to love myself even more.
Sure.
And I'm working on that, and that's awesome. But I definitely am such a different person to who I used to be. And just knowing that if it, don't ever, and a really beautiful friend of mine taught this to me recently, never ever be scared of the future. If something happens that's been a big change in your life and you're going to have to change what's in your future, don't be scared of that. Be excited about that. Be excited that something yet is to come that is going to give you fullness, that's going to create happiness for you. So for me, it's just, like every day I look forward into my future and I know how amazing it's going to be because I'm accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish, and my mindset's changed.
Well, and we talked about just a little bit before the camera was on, a really great distinction that you made. I hope you don't mind sharing, about about how you different places that you can come from with your life. And you talked about that you were coming from a place of desperation, and that you didn't want to do that, and then you kind of, something changed for you, and that all of a sudden you were coming from your heart, and things just took off. So have you found that contribution has been a really massive key for you? In other words, when it stopped becoming all about Hayley and it started to become about helping other people get what they want, did you find that was a really big key?
Oh, absolutely, massively. And you can feel the difference. And like I said, in that situation that I've been in, when you come from a place of desperateness, it is evil. Like, I honestly have felt like I had a rubber band wrapped around my heart and it hurt. It killed me, and nothing functions around you. And I even found myself falling into, like I was feeling cranky because I place of desperateness, and then all of a sudden something happened, and I found myself forgetting about myself and thinking of the outcome for this person, and it is that contribution and that power, that feeling, that knowing that you're going to be able to help change somebody's life, and contribute in whatever way they need me to contribute, that drives me. And it was like this, that rubber band just snapped and my heart released, and I just felt so much relief, like just the sandbags were off my shoulders, and it made me realize, never ever ever make this about you. You always never make it about you. It's not about you. It's about helping other people, and when you realize that, that's when success comes.
Whoa, that's awesome. That is so cool. Doesn't it come?
It comes like it's something that I'm so genuine and passionate about, because what I always teach to the people that are around me is always be yourself. Like, never try and be someone that you're not. Never try and make yourself smarter or make yourself better to prove something to somebody. Always be yourself, because people can feel it. People know it. People know when you're not genuine. So I think that even if it scares you to be yourself, just to close your eyes and take a deep breath and allow yourself to be who you are, and not come from being desperate, because definitely you can feel it, and when you feel it, it shows.
So where would you say, to anybody watching this, I know a lot of people go into jobs, into a workforce, because they feel they have a sense of contribution, like a lot of healthcare workers, counsellors, even some people I know go into the workplace because they believe they can be of service to people, yet still they're living lives of quiet desperation and misery. What would you suggest that they could do?
It's a hard question, I guess, a little bit, but I think it's this that mindset that I was talking about before. It's when you go out, for me, growing up, what I wanted to be when I was older was I always wanted to be a counsellor, because I really do have a massive heart, and I always have wanted to help people. But unfortunately, I never had that belief in myself, and I never educated myself to get myself to that point. So this is why I love doing what I do so much, because I'm there for emotional support. I'm there for physical. I'm there to help people. So I guess is a really big thing to try and change is, for me, is to practice what you preach. It's very hard to go out there and tell people or encourage people to be a certain way if you're not being that person yourself. And I guess that's where that personal development comes into it, and just to really try and it's really, and it even comes down to the fact of my health. My children's health was really bad, and their behavior was really bad. And the pediatrician would say to me, Hayley, you need to change your kids' diet, because they're going to have these behaviors when they're putting all these preservatives and all these sugars and stuff into their diet. You need to change it. But you know what? I couldn't change their diet because I couldn't change it. I couldn't change myself. So I think that's the biggest thing. You need to work on you first.
Yeah.
You need to, and that's where the personal development. You need to work on yourself first, and then with that, it makes it easier to be able to help other people.
Yeah, wow. So kind of like work on yourself, and what I picked out from that was work on yourself, and it's not about you. Focus on the other people.
Focus on the other people, exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's cool, Hal. So, a lot of the times when we look at success, do you consider yourself successful?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And the reason why, comparison is the root to all evil. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are a lot more successful than me, but it doesn't really make them any more successful than me, because what success for me is where I've come from to where I am now.
Yeah.
To me, that's success, and the fact that I have room to grow. Like, this isn't me. I haven't stopped. There's this whole new level that I'm yet to find. And but from where I come from, and in all ways, how I physically looked, how I emotionally feel, the things that I do, from where I was 20 or so months ago to where I am now, has made me be the person that I am, and that's why I'm feeling successful. So
yeah, wow. Yeah. Well, I thought you were successful the moment you decided to pick yourself up. That was successful to me. And
absolutely, yeah.
And so a lot of we hear a lot of talk about what people have had to do, what they've had to give in order to become, quote unquote successful. We look at you, Hayley, and we see a beautiful bright light shining behind your eyes, a really caring heart, an amazing success story, a wonderful mum, you know, really, really focused on other people, self-employed, doing your own thing, you've got this beautiful life that you've created almost from the ashes.
Yeah.
And we could talk about all day long what you've had to do to get there, what you've had to give. But what I'm interested in is, what were some of the things that you had to give up?
Apart from the food,
Apart from the food,
apart from the bad food
Yeah.
and the alcohol and the coffee, what I had to give up was this is a sad thing to say. I had to give up the negative influences in my life. You know, I mentioned before that you know, I found that I become successful too was because I was surrounding myself by people who had that same positive vision that I did. There were a lot of bad influence around me, a lot of people that probably weren't helping my situation. And you know, I never say to give up on people, and I never say that you should stop loving people or accepting, because you always should just accept people for who they are and love them for that. But unfortunately, when there's people in your life that actually are doing you more harm than good, that it's toxic, and you need to let them go if you want to be able to better yourself.
Yeah.
So that was a huge thing for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Very, very difficult. And what would you change for the whole journey? What would you have changed?
What would have I changed? I wish that I went to the gym more, so I could have had a few more muscle guns on my arms. But that's just materialistic. If I had to change anything, to be honest with you, Paul, not much.
Cool.
I'm a firm believer in even if you make mistakes, that it's those mistakes that help you to be and grow, to help you to be the person you want to be and to grow. So, you know, there may be obstacles that come along your way, and maybe you could have dealt with them a little bit different, but everything that happens leads you to the point where you need to be. So yeah, there really isn't much more there's really nothing that I would probably change, except for the fact that, you know, a bit more structure in my life, because I'm a little bit unorganized.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually, yeah, I'm actually pretty unorganized. And it's a massive goal for me, you know, like for the past 10 years, every New Year's resolution has been, I'm going to lose some weight and I'm going to get healthy. This year I'm going to get super organized. That's my thing. I mean, I'm consistent, and I'm definitely a consistent person. But yeah, I do lack a little bit of structure from time to time.
Oh, yeah, I can relate to that one.
I'm happy to admit it.
Yeah. I'm happy to have it, to be honest. I enjoy no structure sometimes.
And in terms of before I started this, what I do in this beautiful, amazing company, I wish that I just admitted that I had a problem.
Yeah.
Because I hid behind this, you know, I'd do my hair and I'd do my makeup, and everyone would think that everything was okay, but it really wasn't. And I really wish that I had reached out and asked for help, because me hiding was what put me in that really dark hole and pushed the people away in my life.
So I'm just going to do another screen share, and I think if we can just wrap up, and if we just talk about these two photos, I'll just get it up here. Here we go. So you see those two there?
Woo!
There we go. So that must be your beautiful little daughter.
Hot. Yeah, that's my daughter, Layla.
Layla.
Yep.
Cool.
Layla.
So we've really covered a great journey, and I feel really inspired just listening to you. Would you mind just sharing with us? Look at those two photos. What's the time difference there? How long is that? What was that in between?
That was I'm pretty good with dates, and that was actually the day before I came home from Thailand. So it would have been the 21st of December 2013. And this picture was taken just on the weekend. This weekend, I was going to a very beautiful friend's wedding, and I walked past a shop and I saw that dress, and was like, oh my gosh, I've got to get that dress. And I'm glad that I did, because I I actually can admit that I look pretty good there.
Cool. So what's been the best things about your journey?
The best things about finding myself.
Mm.
I think everybody deep down inside, doesn't matter what point you're in your life, whether you've got addiction to, whether you've got addictions to drugs or gambling or whatever it is, deep down inside you know what you want to be. Whether or not you can get yourself out of that, that's the question. And everyone can. They just need to change. So my favorite thing in this journey was the fact that the core of who I was exposed. I got to learn who I actually wanted to be, and I allowed myself to be it. And I completely changed. I find myself, optimism. Like, I'm so optimistic now. That is such a beautiful gift to have, to be optimistic about things. I love that. It's like my favorite quality. I love that I'm optimistic now. I love that I'm not non-judgmental. I hate judging, so I love that I don't judge. That I feel so much clarity. And it's a materialistic thing for people to say, oh, you should love who you are, and you shouldn't worry that you're overweight. But you know what? I feel so confident now that when I look at that picture, when I look back at these pictures like that side by side, I remember how horrible I felt in that picture in Thailand. I remember that whole holiday. We were there for 17 days. I hated every minute of it because of the way that I felt. And then looking at this picture here, it's just such a massive transformation. But it's just the fact that for the first time in my life, I've actually learned to love myself. And you know what? When you love yourself, it makes it very easy to love everyone else that's around you.
Yeah, for sure. It's got to start. What a journey, hey? From hating yourself and being negative to loving yourself and loving other people and being a contributor.
Yeah, being able to contribute to people's lives. Like I said, I was never able to be a counsellor, and I'm definitely not one now. And but the fact that I can contribute to people's lives, the fact that I wake up some mornings and I have text messages of people thanking me. I mean, that day there that I'm wearing that dress was a beautiful friend who married the love of her life after 16 years, her second marriage, and she actually got up at her wedding and asked me to stand up in front of the 100 people and thanked me for helping her along this journey, because she lost 20 kilos. But not only that, she also gained control of her life again. And just to be acknowledged like that, it takes, you're a very special person if you get a mention at a wedding. And the fact that that whole room looked at me and knew that I helped to contribute to the person who she is today was the most beautiful feeling.
Beautiful.
And rewarding, very rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. And just finally, Hayley, what would you say is the number one thing that that you enjoy the most about what you do now?
Well, apart from the constant personal development and that constant room to grow, it's definitely the network of people that I've met, like you, Paul, people like you, the people that come into your life, and the friendships that I've made. Like with one of my, I call her my BFF. She's not financially linked to me at all, yet we're accountability partners. And this girl is just the most, like, I love her with every bit of my heart. She's like a soul sister to me. And we help each other in the business. We help each other emotionally in our friendship. And we don't have any financial link to each other in the network marketing company that we're in. So it's forming these amazing friendships with people that when you're around people who are negative, it brings out the worst in you. It brings out this horrible person in you. But when you're around people who are like-minded, it brings out the very, very best in you. So I guess it's just that constant feeling of lightness and friendships. Apart, there's just a million things that I could tell you about, but it's definitely the friendships that I've made along the way, and just knowing that, you know what, it's that saying that by helping other people succeed, it helps you to succeed within yourself.
Yeah.
So by continuing doing this and by constantly contributing to people's lives, they don't realize it, but it's actually them that's helping to contribute to my life and keeping me to be successful and helping me to be able to maintain my weight and to feel good about myself. It's just this mirror. We're just mirrors. We're just reflecting off each other. So yeah, that's my favorite part.
That's cool. New communities. Beautiful.
New communities. Yeah.
Big part. Well, Hayley, thank you so much for taking the time. I could probably keep going for another probably couple of hours. There's 1,000 more questions I'd love to ask you, but I'll keep it short. And I know you've got lots of stuff to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
thank you so much.
Quickly, just one thing that I will say, and I didn't really touch base on it, and it's something that's a bit, it's the network marketing thing. Is that another part of the success for me is the financial side of things. I am making a living now. It is more than what I've ever earned in a full-time income, but I do treat this like a full-time job. This is a job for me, even though is it a job? Because I love it so much. Like, you have this belief that jobs are awful, but I have so much passion for what I do that it just makes it so easy to do it. But the fact that I, as a 33-year-old almost, I get to take my children to school every morning. I get to go to school assemblies. I take my daughter to dancing on Wednesdays. We go and get our nails done. We go to speech therapy. I get to do everything that I want. And I work for myself, and I get to choose the people who I work with. And for the first time in my my relationship, my husband's very he's always kept money to himself, and good reasons, because I'm a massive spender. But just the fact that in terms of gaining control, that I can financially support myself now instead of having to rely on other people to do it for me. It's such an awesome thing, and just to know that I can earn an income and I actually get to be a mum and not have to put my children in daycare because they have to go, because I have to get up at 6 o'clock to go to work and come home at 6 o'clock at night. It's the freedom, and it is freedom. That's what freedom is for me. And it's a gift. It's like, I look every day, I'm so thankful, because this has truly been the biggest gift to me. But something I definitely have to touch base on that is that, if anyone's ever going to give up in network marketing, it's going to be in the first 12 months.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can definitely tell you that, I've got to the point where I am now, and trust me, there's room for improvement. There's a lot more out there for me yet. I appreciate every week when I get my pay that comes into my account every week, whether it's higher or lower, whatever it is. I'm so thankful for that. But if anyone's going to give up, it's going to be in the first 12 months. But my biggest advice to people is, if you don't mind me saying, do not give up in that first 12 months, because it's that first 12 months that is going to pay off in the next 12 months. So it's the hard work that I actually put in the beginning that is I'm actually going to see, in a year's time. So yes, in terms of I get to go on holidays for a month and I'll still get paid, it's because I put that hard work in the beginning. And for me, yeah, that's that biggest thing for me. So, and I say that to people who are entering network marketing now, and they're like, and you put in, you be consistent, and not even just that, you've got to be consistent, but just have that constant passion and that belief, because that definitely pays off. And I've got to practice what I preach there, but like I said, there's still a lot of room for improvement with me, but I see it in my mentors. I have some amazing mentors, and I see it in them, and it's a hard work, and they've achieved this in a very short period of time, but they put the hard work in the beginning. And if you're going to go and open up a retail shop, I mean, the majority of retail shops are they're expected to lose in their first year, and you wouldn't give up, obviously, because you want to make the money back. So it's just one of these things where don't look at it as a short-term thing. Look at it as a long-term thing. If I had to go to uni to make them, if I wanted to be a certain person, I'd have to go to uni, to earn $1,000 a week or whatever it is that I would want to earn. you have to put that hard work in to do that. You have to go to uni for 3 or 4 years to be able to do that career that you choose. So for me, it's like if I have to spend 2 or 3 or 4 years building before I get to the point that I want to get to, then, you know, who cares? Because I've got the freedom of the life that I have.
Yeah.
And that's amazing for me. It's massive.
And it's a good point, which is a real key to kind of moving through from, you know, despair to happiness and gratitude and joy and abundance, and living a life of contribution, is that really there's got to be a plan moving forwards, you know, and I think a vision, right? But also a plan. You've got to have a plan behind a vision, otherwise it's just a dream.
Sure.
So, and if you take yourself back and you think where you were, you know, the vision might have only been as far as the fridge, or, you know, as far as picking up the kids from school. Now all of a sudden this vision's bigger. What I've loved about what you've shared, Hayley, is that you're what I call a professional failure, and I say that with a lot of love, because I'm the same.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people tend to think that you know, you have failure on one side and you have success over here. But the reality is that this is successful. Failure is right there, and you've got to go through it to get to it.
Oh, absolutely. And I heard this saying once, and I love it, that you just fail yourself forward.
Yeah.
Fail yourself forward, because you're right. Success and failure come hand in hand. And through failure, through success, you are going to have some failure. But it's those, you know, you jump over those hurdles, and it's like that arrow. You know, they talk about the arrow. You pull the arrow back before it flies forward.
Yeah.
It's exactly right.
Really, really cool. Well, thank you heaps, Hayley. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
My pleasure. If you know anybody else out there that would love to contribute and share their story, I'd love to have a chat to them.
Absolutely. I might have a few.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Thanks. Nice talking to you.
You too, Hayley. Catch you soon.
Take care. Bye.